Hi, everyone. This is Lindsay Riley with the Maryland Democratic Party. I am going to give everyone just a minute or two to file in here. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, it looks like we have critical mass. Again, thank you everyone for joining us for our press call. This is Lindsay Riley with the Maryland Democratic Party. We have some great speakers lined up to talk with you all today. I'm going to start off with Senator Chris Van Hollen. Senator, please take it away.
Thank you, and thank all of you for joining us. It's now been 1 week since Time Magazine broke a very well researched and documented story about how Larry Hogan used the governor's office to benefit himself and his business partners. It's been a week, and the people of Maryland deserve answers because this clearly raises very serious ethical questions. No elected official should make money off of decisions they oversees, or in Larry Hogan's case, decisions that they personally approved. During his 8 years in office, nearly 40% of the competitive affordable housing awards overseen by the governor went to 6 developers listed as clients on the Hogan website. Time Magazine estimates that Larry Hogan approved sending approximately $90 million in state housing awards to his own clients. He also voted at least 5 times to direct additional taxpayer dollars to his own clients. All the while, then Governor Hogan was also holding regular meetings with his company's leadership. These are not allegations. They're clearly facts. And Larry Hogan should tell the American people, and the people of Maryland, exactly what happened. And if he has questions, if he wants to challenge these facts, he should do so, because the people of Maryland deserve answers, because these are very serious issues. Multiple ethics experts are calling out Hogan's clear conflict of interest. Don Fox, the former general counsel for the U.S. Office of Government Ethics in the George W. Bush and Barack Obama administrations, have indicated that this arrangement would just never fly under the federal system. Richard Painter, the chief White House ethics lawyer in the George W. Bush administration, said, and I quote, "It's definitely a serious conflict of interest. He should have stayed away from it," unquote. Hogan claims that the story is, quote, made up and an insult to Marylanders, especially, however, where there's a documented record of the votes that Hogan casts. He deserves to give the people of Maryland an answer. These are not made up facts. If they're made up facts, Larry Hogan should demonstrate that, because these are clearly, they have records of the votes that took place, records of the client list. So this is not made up. And it's important that Larry Hogan answer questions to the Maryland people. He should be fully transparent about his business dealings and be clear about the relationship he would have with these companies if he were ever elected to the United States Senate. So Marylanders deserve to know, why did the governor not recuse himself from the votes that involved clients that he had a financial relationship with through his companies? Will he recuse himself from any votes and funding requests in the Senate that would be conflicts of interest should he be elected? And will he fully divest himself from his company to prevent further conflicts of interest? So those are some pretty basic questions that I think the people of Maryland deserve answers to. And with that, let me turn it over to Jamie Raskin, who, as I think all know, is an attorney and has been very focused on making sure that we have a government that respects the rules and respects the ethics system. Let me turn it over to Jamie Raskin.
And thank you, Senator Van Hollen. This is fundamentally a question about public integrity. First, the former governor decided to stay in business and to maintain 50% partnership and ownership in the real estate business with his brother. And therefore, to be earning private money, even as he was governor, from that business. Then he failed to recuse himself, but rather continued to preside over these grant relationships with companies that were clients of his business. And as Senator Van Hollen said, the Times reporting, rather the Time magazine reporting, is uncontradicted that there were 6 business clients of former Governor Hogan who accumulated over $90 million in contracts, which Governor Hogan voted on. That creates at least the appearance of unfairness to the 60 other applicants that did not win such contracts, given that this was fully 40% of all the contracts awarded during that period. It raises the question as to whether they were the best qualified applicants or whether there was political influence in this process. And it also raises very big questions about the money that Governor Hogan then made while he was in office, more than $2 million privately, dwarfing what his government salary was. Now, we don't know necessarily that that's where the money came from, but that's the one possible strong implication of the rudimentary facts that we have. And so this is something that the public should know. Look, I think that in some sense, the entire presidential election this year is about a very similar question. Are we going to have government, which is an instrument of the public interest and the common good for everyone? Or, as in the case of Donald Trump, are we going to have government, which is an instrument of private self-enrichment for the guy who gets in and his family? And so, these questions are real, and I do think that the public deserves to have answers to them. And with that, I will yield back.
Great.
Okay.
Kagan. Yes.
I
Sorry.
think I'm up next. I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville. And my senator and my congressman have spoken so magnificently. I just want to add that we're all really clear that we are in an election year and that this campaign is close. Having said that, this is not a partisan issue, nor should it be. Maryland has a long and frankly fairly troubled past, with Democrats and Republicans going to jail for ethical violation. We need to know, what's the deal, Larry Hogan? What have you done in the past? Why is it that you haven't put your business dealings in a secure, blind trust? Why haven't you given us any explanation? Every year, I have sponsored with my colleague and partner, Delegate Mark Corman, sponsored and passed transparency legislation. Maryland's laws require and demand transparency so as to retain and hopefully bolster voter confidence and Marylanders' confidence in their government and in their elected officials. Shenanigans like this don't help with any of that. So we need accountability, we need an explanation for what's happened in the past, and we need to know what your plan would be for your personal dealings and your financial management and money-making sources, how you would deal with that if Marylanders were to send you to the U.S. Senate. With that, I'd like to pass it on to my colleague from the district right next door, Senator Jeff Waldstreicher.
Well, thank you to Senator Van Hollen, Representative Raskin, and my friend and colleague, State Senator Cheryl Kagan. Let me close with this. We need answers. The people of Maryland deserve answers. On the second day of his administration, Larry Hogan received a letter from the executive director of the Maryland State Ethics Commission, clearly saying that he is barred from participating in any state matter that involves his business. How do I know that this happened? Because I was there. Senator Kagan and I served in the General Assembly at the time. We can see from last week's report that Larry Hogan did not follow that guidance. In fact, he made $2.4 million during his first 3 years in office from undisclosed sources, making him the first governor in Maryland history to make millions of dollars while in office. So the bipartisan call for transparency must be heeded. And Hogan needs to answer for what to me appear to be clearly conflicts of interest. So here are 3 questions that Larry Hogan needs to answer. 1, why didn't Larry Hogan recuse himself from votes that involved clients that had a financial relationship with his company? 2, will Larry Hogan recuse himself from any votes and funding requests in the US Senate that would be conflicts of interest? And 3, will Larry Hogan fully divest himself from his company to prevent further conflicts of interest? And with that, I'll throw it back to Lindsay.
Thank you, Senator. We have some time for questions. If folks want to raise their hand, I can unmute you. Going once, going twice. All right, thank you everybody for joining us. And if you have questions or think of them later, you can reach us at media@mddems.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.